No, nothing even close. This was, to put it very mildly, an embarrassment, and probably much worse than that. I think this kind of behavior can do pretty much permanent damage to the status of whoever does wind up becoming president. And it sure doesn't seem to fit with the image of a superpower.
Was there a clear winner? Who seemed to be the most effective speaker? That is, when they got a chance to say anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were speaking to different parts of the audience. I think it's fair to say that Biden did a much better job, putting his eyes directly looking at the audience at home, trying to get a message across to the broad public that that is Biden, am with you and Trump isn't. He tried that several times, and I thought it was pretty effective. That's not exactly the same constituency that Trump was trying to reach. He was trying to speak to his base. His whole electoral strategy, there is no plan B. His whole electoral strategy is to gin up support among his base and then do whatever is possible to make it harder for anybody else to vote. That's particularly the point he keeps coming back to about mail ballots not being valid. Of course, the people who tend to vote by mail are not the ones who are going to support him in general. So they were talking to different audiences and across purposes, but you could argue that each was effective in his own way.
And if you're an undecided voter, which is hard to believe at this point, will this debate do anything for you either way? Will it make up your mind?
Well, if you expect people to make up their minds otherwise undecided based on issues, I don't think so. There were about half a dozen issues that came up, but it was pretty much hopeless to get a solid policy-filled message across. This was more about vituperation, about, well, sort of like mutual character assassination. And at times you were kind of wondering if you were listening to a fight that broke out in a sixth-grade schoolyard. It was not much above that level, and not exactly what you would hope out of a president.
One of the moments that came out of the debate, just absolutely mind-boggling, was President Trump refusing to condemn white supremacists. We had it in Dan Williams' piece, what he said, basically telling far-right Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. Senator Tim Scott, Republican from South Carolina, he told reporters he believes President Trump misspoke. Do you think he misspoke?
Oh, no. I think that's exactly what he was trying to emphasize. It's not just the Proud Boys, but it's groups like that that have a very militant approach to his support. That really is his ultimate bedrock, and he has to appeal to them or he has zero hope of winning re-election. He really is not trying to broaden his base of support in particular. However, if you look at some public opinion polls, interestingly enough, he's doing a little bit better by a couple of percentage points with African-American voters and Hispanic voters than he did in 2016. The reason why he's in trouble and really has to keep appealing to this base of support is because he's lost support among, well, less firmly committed white voters. He is about 10 percentage points or so below where he was in 2016 nationally and in most of the swing states with white voters. So that's his real problem. And that's partly, I think, why he keeps coming back to what are just rather obviously white nationalist kinds of arguments. It's an attempt to try to bring that part of his winning coalition from 4 years ago back on his side.